Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We've got a special video for you today. Ben and I were actually able to go and tour the GSI plant in Assumption, Illinois. So we've got a pretty cool video stacked up for you guys today.
GSI's plant in Assumption is 42,000 square feet, give or take. We'll see how the plant turns around 120 million pounds of steel annually, from coils that come in on semi trucks into things like this grain bin behind us that we use.
Huge shout out to everybody at GSI that made this tour possible, especially Chris, our tour guide. Thank you so much for taking the time to show us around. If you guys do enjoy the video, make sure you hit the like button, thumbs up, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let's roll.
So the first thing you guys are going to see in this tour, and we're going to segue and jump in and out and kind of explain things to you because it was just a little loud in the factory, especially in places, so we want to make sure you guys know what's going on. But the trucks of steel are going to come in, and they're going to come in on coils, and those coils are going to be processed basically immediately, and that's what I really thought was pretty cool. As soon as you get in there, they turn the coil of steel into a usable product, or into how they can handle it pretty much right in the door. So it's off the truck, right into the door, and that's what you guys are going to see now.
This is really the beginning of the process, but this is our crane bay where all the coils of steel come in. Depending on the volume for the year, 100 million to 120 million pounds of steel we receive every year here in coils.
What kind of steel is that?
Galvanized, hot rolled steel.
But it comes galvanized.
Comes galvanized to us. Yeah, it comes galvanized to us. We have some structural steel welding, some beams and things like that that don't come galvanized. We do all the welding out, and then we send those out for a hot dip process. Go down here and take a look at how we produce the sidewalk. Our sidewall process. We'll bring it in here to the corrugator. It will cut it and corrugate it, either the 4-inch or the 266, depending on the order. Then we put it in this gantry area, and then as we're building bins and we're ready to curve the sidewalls, curve and punch them, the machine will come and it'll pick the right sidewalls, and it'll take it through the roll forming and curve and punch it.
So how, like for instance, how tall was this sheet once you got the corrugation?
So they typically, we get them in about 48 inches wide on the coil before it's corrugated, and then it shrinks down.
Are all the corrugations the same, like dimensions, same up and down?
The 4-inch and the 266 inch. So 266 is typically commercial. It's the narrower corrugation. That refers to the distance between the pieces. Okay, so those are the two corrugation options: the 4-inch, 266. I'm guessing yours was a 4-inch.
Yes, yep. Like that would be. That would be 4-inch. Okay. Very cool.
now that they've taken those coils, brought them in, cut them to size, corrugated them, now it's time to bend them.
And what I really kind of thought was cool about this, and so when you guys look at it, after they bend it, and sometimes they put a logo on there, and they've changed their logo, otherwise we could go, well, here. Like that logo right there, that's what you guys kind of saw, except for their different logos. But now they're basically going to roll the steel or crimp, or I don't know what they actually say, but you put the bend in the steel. And as you look at the steel, the ones that look like they're kind of flat, those are for massive diameter size bends, and the ones that you can actually see quite a bit of curve into, those are the ones that are actually smaller size bends. I really don't know what size of a bend they would look like for this 30-foot bend that's going to be put here, but that's what you guys are going to see here is the bend getting put into the sheets of metal.
Decide whether one bundle is a whole ring or you have to have multiple bundles, because we have to have them be able to be handled by our forklift.
And then so with this, you change the distance on that, and that's what gives it.
Correct. You change the gap in the roller into the curve depending on the size of the bend.
So that would be a really big bend, basically.
Yep, because it's almost flat.
It's almost flat.
And we will walk by some even bigger ones.
Now you can barely see that they're curled at all. The ones that you see a lot of curls do are the smaller curls. Yep. And that's how the sidewalls for bins are actually made. It seems really pretty darn simple, but it's actually not as simple as it looks. There's some really impressive machines that make the curvature of those actually happen.
So we'll still have to see how the roof is made here in a minute, but first we're gonna go into the fabrication section with all of the lasers.
Different type of lasers, Molly. Different type of lasers.
This is the beginning of our fabrication department. So this is one of our free fiber lasers. So lasers started out as CO2 lasers.
Okay.
And it's just how they generate the laser beam, and those kind of maxed out on speed and capacity, thickness to cut. The fiber lasers, then the next generation. So this is a 4 kilowatt fiber laser, 10 gauge material. Say this could cut, the old CO2 laser could cut it at 40 inches a minute. This probably cuts it at 140 inches a minute. And we just bought 2 10 kilowatt lasers that'll cut it at 480 inches a minute.
Does the plant do anything special for electricity or anything like that for you guys' power needs?
We have our own solar farm here that provides about, I think it's 13% of our electricity is the solar farm. I'd have to verify that number for sure, but yeah, we've got our own solar farm on site. We put that solar farm in, we recently went through, and we changed out all the lighting, so all the lighting's now LED. We're putting in these larger fans, which hasn't gotten rid of all the small fans, but it's reduced the number quite a bit. They're much more energy efficient, move a lot more air for the guys. It's central Illinois in the summertime, it's hot.
Now that the parts are all cut, they're gonna head off to get welded. They do have a few robotic welders, but actually a lot of their parts are still welded by craftsmen themselves, which is pretty cool. At this point, I've been on a few factory tours with Ben, and he definitely gets just as excited about the workings of the factory and the people that work in the factory as he does about what the factory is actually making.
Definitely. And so I actually asked some questions about like what it's like to actually work in the factory there in Assumption. Assumption has somewhere in the neighborhood of around 500 people that work in the plant there, but they have definitely a lot of career development opportunities for you there. You can come in with not a lot of experience, choose a pathway, get trained, you can test in to be welders, and then you can actually move around throughout the plant. It really seems like it would be a good place for people to work. And I kind of joked with Chris there is that all the forklifts that are running around, that maybe they should do like an annual forklift competition, so a guy gets like a golden forklift or something like that, because I'm pretty sure some of those operators, they could literally probably turn a page in a book with that thing. It's like they are skilled. Anyways, after running through the fabrication department, it's off to the paint, and right alongside the paint is actually where the bin sheets for the roof are made. It's like a small city of forklifts.
A lot of forklifts. This is the second crane bank, and that feeds the roll forming for the stiffener line. So this is where the stiffeners are going to be made.
Okay.
We'll see that as we're coming around.
You can really feel the...
So over there, you see the parts coming out of that dark opening? That's the opening to the oven. So that's 400 degrees in there. So this is one of the key pieces of equipment for the plant. We'll walk down around a little bit. This is the roof line. One of a kind, custom built machine for us. And that will decoil. It'll cut it to length. It'll slit it to angle. And it'll take one of the roof panels on down the line. It'll flip the other one, will go up this conveyor and flip over to get it in the right orientation, because they're cutting two opposite pies. So this one will go down the line, that one will go up, get flipped over, and follow it down the line. That way you're not wasting any material. Shorter pieces, it's the beginning of a coil, so he's getting things all squared up, calibrated, and ready to go. So there's always some scratch at the beginning of the
So the last thing we're actually going to look at or see here in this video, and there's a lot more on the tour, but we're going to try and cut it down so that we're not going to cut into where they make the unloads, the augers that go on the unloads, the other parts and stuff like that. We're going to dial it in a little bit more. So the last thing that we're actually going to see manufactured here is the stiffeners that go on the outside of the bin.
So on the way to the dryer section, you actually walk past the parts storage section, and there's just shelves on shelves on shelves of parts in this factory. The video really just doesn't do it justice.
This is our portable dryer line. We pack tower dryers over here in this corner. In this station, depending on the model.
So this is the beginning of the
Very beginning of the dryer. Very beginning of the dryer when we put the rails and everything on. So that dryer will move up to this next station, and you'll see the station's pretty large compared to the dryer. That's a very small dryer. We'll get the Q dryers, the quiet dries, the extreme triple stack, 26 foot. The size of the dryers vary a lot. We build them all down the same line. Starting to put the screens on, so you can see we'll have somebody. They've been focused on the shell of the dryer. These last two stations is where we really get the guts of it. We're putting the fans on, putting the cans on, wiring it up. 6 stations on the line. size of the dryer. We break them into scheduling units to where that one dryer that we saw at the beginning would be 3/4 of a scheduling unit. One of the big U dryers could be 2 1/4. So the tack time really depends on the dryer. Our goal is to get 4 scheduling units per day. In general, that's a cycle time of about every 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
So now you guys have a good overview of how the bin itself is made. So now it's all on shelves, in boxes, on pallets. So the question is how do we make sure that we get all the parts that we need for a bin like this or an unstiffened bin like that one to the locations for the bin builds? And that was actually a pretty cool part too that I liked, is that, so say the little shelves that the bin floor sits on in there, they're just little stools kind of looking deal that hold the bin floor up. You might need, I really won't know, hundreds of them in there. So instead of counting them, it's all by weight. And so you would put a certain amount in there and have weight. So you never miscount, and make sure that you have the parts that you need, the bolts, you know, how many steps do you need for the ladder, all of these things. Those little parts get weighed, boxed, and then put onto a shelf. After that, the bigger parts get pulled onto a shelf for an order. And they're said that they're trying to do that about 3 days ahead of time. And they'll get all the parts staged. That way, if there's any that they need to go get, things like that, the loads are made. So like, basically, I think we were there on a Thursday. So they were pretty much putting the shippings together for the following Monday.
They scan an order number. It tells them what to go pick and where it's at in the warehouse. You can imagine this isn't like loading a truck full of cases of Diet Mountain Dew where everything nests in, right? You got, it's a puzzle piece. So what we do here, these are the picked orders. Then we've got a staging crew. They will stage it. They'll shrink wrap what needs to be shrink wrapped and things like that. And they'll put them by order in these shelves over here. And you can see they're labeled. They're color coded, and they'll say box 1 of 12, 3 of 12. So then from there, they'll go out to the docks where they're loaded. And like I said, this should be 3 days from now. This should be Monday.
How many trucks ship out a day?
During peak season right now, we're a little over 40. We try and average.
Holy smokes, 40.
We try and average 35, but with the demand right now, we're a little over 40. Now that includes usually 2 or 3 dryers a week, so that a few of those would go out the other end.
And so these trucks then go directly to a dealer?
Directly to a job site generally. Some of them go to a dealer. Some dealers have warehouses where they stock everything ahead of time and they go to a job site. But by and large, it's directly to a job site.
So there you have it. Now you've seen the process of those steel coils coming in on trucks, being manufactured right there into grain storage systems that are then shipped out to be built all across America on top of bin pads, just like this one.
Thank you again to GSI for opening their doors, showing us their manufacturing process to the YouTube world here. Really appreciated it. I learned stuff. Molly, what was your favorite part of the tour?
I don't remember what part of it was, but there was this one machine that took sheets and it just like spit them right back out. It was pretty cool. And the guy was just like whipping his tape measure out, doing quality checks, and he was just like, whoosh. I feel like every video, the last few videos, I've been wearing this t-shirt. I promise I have more clothes than this, but it seems appropriate.
So I guess we'll end it on Molly's wardrobe note there. So don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And of course, like always, we'll We'll see you in the next one.
Wait. What was your favorite part?
Oh. Oh yeah, my favorite part of the tour. Really didn't have to do anything with the tour, so since then we've had the wedding. And this week, so it was on a Thursday, and so bachelor party was that weekend or whatever. And we went to Burlington, and Molly was kind of a little bit on my butt about how lackily the bachelor party was kind of planned. Well, in comes tour guide Chris, who happens to know quite a bit about Burlington. Tells us all the restaurants to go to, the golf course to go to, all the places to hang out. So it was like, boom. It was like, look at that, Molly. It's like, the world provides. Didn't have to plan it all. Thanks for the tips, Chris.